It's time for Talkin Tauntauns, your Star Wars source at AIPTcomics.com.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Talkin Tauntauns. I am Jim Lahane, and with me, my fellow Tauntaun, Nicole Herview.
What up?
See that I did it. I did the thing.
You did a thing, and you didn't mess it up. You didn't.
I didn't
do
mess
anything
it up.
stupid.
No.
You didn't interject some dad joke that I have to fake laugh at. No, we're good. We're
What do you
okay.
mean fake laugh at?
What?
What? Huh? And with us, like a tauntaun, like a wampa
No.
coming to play with his tauntaun friends,
What?
the co-host from my other podcast, Star Wars Beyond the Films, it's Mark Hurliman.
Hey, how we doing, guys? I bring
What
all the
is this? A
puns.
crossover episode?
Well, you're allowed to bring over your crossover, so I brought my crossover.
Oh yeah, you're right. I did do that, but yeah, I did do that. Okay, fair enough. Go on.
So, for those who don't know, our Mark and my other podcast, Star Wars Beyond the Films, we read a lot of the books and comics and a lot of the Legends stuff, and we kind of talk them over, review them, and talk about what we like. And so, since we were planning on doing a book here, I figured who better to talk about it than Mark, who finished the book. I don't know, how many minutes ago, Mark, did you finish the book?
25.
20.
After I said I had a chapter, I was like, oh, I got time. Then I was like, oh, I'm almost out of time.
So we are discussing Star Wars Brotherhood today. But before we get to that, Nicole, how are you doing? We skipped a week.
We did, and you know what? That was very nice for me. I'm all over the place right now. I am preparing to leave the country. Not permanently. I wish.
It's actually voluntarily.
But yeah, I'll be back, I hope. Yeah, if I'm not, then something horrendous has happened. So let's just hope that doesn't. But anyway, the point is, I haven't traveled. I haven't traveled outside of the country in 8 years. So this is it's big. It's big. And I am all over the place because I'm quarantining for a couple weeks before I leave because I'm not insane. And so I'm like, oh yeah, I've got 3 weeks before I leave. And then I'm like, oh no, I have 2 days to get everything I need before I leave. So I've been running around like a maniac and working and packing kinda. And Jim, I'm not well. I'm not well.
And you're taking a big trip. It's not like you're going to Canada.
No, it's an 8-hour flight. Yeah. It's a trip. It's a trip. Yeah.
Our northernly neighbor is a different country, but it's also really easy to get to because they're
3 hours from my house. That's nothing. It's probably further than that. I've never checked, but I could drive there. I could drive to Toronto.
Are you bringing a physical book, or are you going digital? There you go.
I listen. I went I went nuts. I went Barnes and Noble, Target special edition. Target special edition. I have a poster.
Ooh.
Oh, you did go next level.
There's a poster. I won't be putting that poster up, but I have it. But yeah, so that's how I am. I finished this morning because I had a schedule. I wanted to finish it today, and I did because I like it to be very, very fresh. But I've been one-upped by Mr. 25 Minutes. So
I finished mine last week. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, I was like, if I read 40 pages a day for 10 days, I'll finish it in time, and I did. So
that's how I do most of my books. It's like I want to finish this book. I'll give it 20 pages a day. I should finish it in 20 days. That's not too bad.
Right, exactly.
I crack it open, I get about a paragraph in, and I keep slumping off. So then I did the audiobook while I was reading it, and that worked for a little while. And then I was like, this guy's voice is really And then I wake up 2 hours later, I'm 5 chapters far. I'm like, oh, God. Try to find where you're at. Oh, it's fun.
Yeah.
I've tried listening to the audiobook while I read a book, once. And they go so much slower than
It's
I
so
read
slow.
that
Yeah,
it's absolutely
That's how I
painful.
learned how to read. Like, that's how I learned how to read big girl books when I was like 8. But I just one or the other. It's for
That's
me
it.
now
It's
at
exactly.
this
I
point.
like audiobooks because I can do
Sure.
other things, but
Yeah.
I can't do them at the same time. It
No,
it
not for
drives
me
me
anymore.
bonkers.
I had to go up
know.
to 1.5, but then he lost like all the accents. It was.
Yeah, no, that doesn't work. Jim, how are you doing in your life?
Busy.
Yeah.
The job that actually pays me money has been running me ragged. And so I'm doing that, doing the stay-at-home dad stuff, and trying to remodel the house. And I'm getting severely behind on that job. So I've been sanding drywall for the past 3 days. We're getting close to moving my daughter into her bedroom. Hopefully, we ordered carpet today, so
Nice.
we're almost there. We got paint and carpet, and hopefully we'll be able to start putting things together so it actually looks like a bedroom. But other than
That'd
that,
be cool.
yeah, it's just busy, tired.
Yeah, I feel that. So we needed last week, really. Like, bad. I definitely did. Sounds like you did as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what I did last week.
Was it the 4th?
Yes, it was.
Oh, yeah.
I cowered in the bathroom with my dogs while they were
Yeah.
dealing with fireworks.
Yeah, my cat was not thrilled either, so I feel you.
You guys live in states where it's illegal to have the real big ones, or?
Oh, no, it's legal, and I hate it. I keep being like, my apartment's burning down today. Like, and it's every weekend here. It's not just the 4th. But over the 4th, it was like 5 days in a row, and I was like, I'm actually gonna leave. Like, I'm not coming back. Like, this is ridiculous. So yeah, it was. I don't know if New York, it's still illegal in New York.
I
or
don't
not.
actually know.
It's
I
legal
don't
here.
know if it matters.
Well, yeah,
because
it's
I
illegal
live-
here, but they were just.
Yeah, we
Oh,
live
no.
we live in the boonies, so
Ah.
yeah, it's people don't have a tendency to care. Like, I own 60 acres, and I look over in a valley, and I'm far enough away from everybody that I don't think anybody would care if I lit off fireworks, except for my dogs.
Right. Yeah. No, they sell them in Target here. Like, I walked in at Target this week, and it was just like a big. I was like, you gotta be freaking kidding me.
Oh man.
I really, because listen, as someone with chronic anxiety, and one of my biggest triggers is a fire. Like, I watched a few years ago, I had already worried about burning a house down, and I watched the apartment building next to mine burn to the ground for like an hour, and it was the worst. So every 4th of July, it's just like, that could happen right now. It could happen right now, and you got no shot.
That's so we when I lived in Utah, our neighbor behind us, their house burnt to the ground while we
Yeah.
were there, like in the
It's
middle of the night. It's my wife wakes me
horrendous.
up. She's like, the neighbor's house is on fire. Like,
Yeah.
what? And
Oh man.
like Utah, everything's dry as hell. Like
Yeah.
the
It's
fact
terrifying.
that their house didn't light the entire neighborhood on fire is a miracle to begin with.
Yeah. Sheesh. So yeah,
Floods and fires. That's the two things that terrify my collection.
that's yeah. It's I go through the whole. How do I get the cat out of here? Like, that's all that I'm thinking about for like 3 hours every 4th. So I don't like the 4th of July. I don't like it one bit. But yeah. Anyway.
All right.
So Brotherhood, I guess. Oh
Let's-
no,
no,
news.
we got news. We got
We got
news.
Okay.
Your tauntaun will freeze before you reach the first marker. Then I'll see you in hell.
Hello, what have we here?
All right. So I got 2 news items. I don't know if you guys have anything.
No.
No.
You know me, I don't pay attention. I did see what we're talking about, but I didn't like process it.
Yeah.
You
So
know?
the first news item. So the last episode, I said, "Oh, remember all those shows that Celebration released, and we talked forever about shows? Well, we missed one. Well, we missed another one.
Yeah, here's the
we
other
didn't talk about this one, but this one's just a special. It's the Lego Star Wars Summer Vacation special. They released a trailer for it, and it seems to be going in line with the other 2 Lego specials, the I don't remember what they're called, but like the Halloween and the holiday special.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so they're
Both
taking
of which
place.
I loved.
Yeah, they're taking place after Rise of Skywalker, and looks like they're flashing back or time traveling or some whatever they're doing. And so that's coming out August 5th.
Nice.
And so we'll definitely have to talk about that. But they released the trailer. It looks hilarious. I'm excited.
It looks so good. I listen. I said it before. I'll say it again. Darth Vader on a beach. I'm happy. I'm a happy girl. It just. I laughed so hard for so long. It's Lego doesn't miss, man. It's just gold.
Yeah. I love Lego because it's its own thing. You know, it doesn't take itself seriously, and in a world of it's all canon, there's Lego going, nah.
Yeah, exactly. Just like, we're gonna have fun. Like, we're gonna. This is my go-to Lego thing now, but we have the Lego game, the Lego Star Wars Saga, Skywalker Saga. What is happening in my brain? The Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga game. Yes? Okay. I played through Phantom Menace because of course I did, right? That's the first thing I did. And just like, this is the kind of like little franchise that's gonna take the Senate and have all the little Jawas and have Maul hiding out as a Jawa, and you made Sam Witwer say Utini, and like that's the highlight of the game, and I just played that part, and that's what they get away with, and it's the best. Like, it's just
the Lego Star Wars game is easily some of the best games, just because they're so easy, but they're also fun and not like stupid easy. It's like you're actually like playing a game.
Yeah,
it's like that across the board too. Like the Indiana Jones ones, the Harry Potter, the Pirates of the Caribbean. They're all a lot of fun. My son actually is playing the game right now. I haven't had a chance because he is grinding, trying to unlock everything, and I'm like, dude, can you go to bed so I can play? He outweights me though. I'm like, I'm sitting there on the couch. Next thing I know, I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm going to bed. I need my bed. I need a pillow. This is you win.
It's time for your bed. As long as you live under my roof, you gotta. I threw that around this weekend. I don't remember why, but it's
nice.
She's like, I'm gonna go live in the garage. Then I'm like, it's
still your roof.
You're still in the property.
This land is my land. It is not your land.
All right, and now the other news item. The one that has been blowing up the internet. And I think part of the problem is I know a couple friends of ours misunderstood the news. And I think it's part of a branding issue with the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser. Because they keep calling that a cruise experience. But it's not a cruise. It's not a cruise. You don't actually go anywhere. But it's like as if you were on a cruise. Right. But there's also the Disney Wish, which is a cruise on water, real water, not space water.
Yeah.
And so they have a hyperspace lounge on the Disney Wish, and they had done a press tour or press trip, which is starting to grind my gears that all the press get to do the Disney Wish and the Galactic Star Cruiser, and they probably didn't pay anything for any of this.
No, because it's their dang job. But yeah,
that's besides the fact. I guess it's because they did both of these within a very short period of time. That's
what's irritating, is that it was like so. I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you, Jim.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's because these two big things happened so close to each other.
Within 5 months.
Otherwise, there would have been
5
years.
months. Yeah,
there would have been a couple years in between these two. So it really feels like the same press is getting spoiled like twice in a row. But really, it's just like it's because of COVID. Everything is like happening now. But yeah, it's a working cruise. Having done this kind of thing, like at conventions and stuff, it's very different, you know, to work a thing and cover a thing versus actually enjoying the thing. It's still.
But you're
like,
also you're
still
working
got to do
on
that.
A cruise.
Yeah,
like it's
you're
like
on a cruise.
You're essentially being paid. You're not even paying to be on the cruise. You're being paid to be on the cruise. Like so it's
probably.
I understand you're working. It's just too much too soon.
Yeah. It gets frustrating when it's like, oh, that must be nice.
All right.
I'm still on them celebration blues, man. Don't rub the salt in.
So on the Disney Wish, not the Galactic Star Cruiser, the
actual cruise.
the actual cruise in this hyperspace lounge made headlines that they apparently have a drink that is a little bit expensive.
It's a car.
It's a lot.
It is.
It's like a few months of rent.
It's called the Kyber Crystal, and it costs 5,000. There's
There
the
you
decimal.
go.
$5,000.
$5,000.
And you notice too that it's the Kyber of old from
The spelling, yes.
the Splinter of a Mind's Eye, I believe. The Kyber Crystal. Yeah.
So the thing about this is, yes, it's outrageously expensive, but it's actually more than just one drink. And I think that's what is getting lost in a lot of this. First off, it comes in a Camp Tono, which is the ice cream maker from Empire Strikes Back. And the best part about that is you don't get to keep that.
Ridiculous.
That's the sting right there, man.
That's rude.
That's what we were talking before the show. That was what burned Mark. Is like, it would have been fine if you got to keep it.
Oh, you see, I didn't realize the big thing you're paying for right here. I mean, we spoke a little bit about you get glasses. There's 4 glasses. You keep 4 silver-plated glasses, which is cool. You'll get a backpack, water bottle, other gifts. Don't know what that means. A room decoration that is themed to Hyperspace Lounge, and a bottle of sparkling wine from Skywalker Ranch, and a voucher for one person to visit Skywalker Ranch. So that's what you're paying for.
Well, that's one of those things you really can't get. Like,
Yeah.
you can't get a tour to Skywalker Ranch unless you know somebody, or unless you have the big bucks. And I guess this is where the big bucks come in.
This is the big bucks, yeah.
They're like the people that go to wineries, they're on these boats.
Yeah. Listen, it makes a little bit more sense to me now, but it's still ridiculous.
Yeah, it comes with, like you said, 4 cups. It comes with 4 drinks. The main drink that you get, and the cocktail is made with I'm going to butcher the names, but Camus Cognac 4.16, which apparently is super expensive in and of itself. Grand Marnier Quintessence, again an expensive liqueur. Yuzu and Kumquat.
That's just fruit.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, Kumquat is probably not that expensive, but I don't.
I think I have one in my fridge.
Yeah, I don't typically buy them. But it also comes with 3 shots. Pappy Van Winkle's Family Reserve 23-year bourbon. Taylor's Kingsman Edition Very Old Tawny Port.
Wait, but only 3 shots?
Only 3 shots. Listen, you have
I thought we were
4
getting
drinks.
bottles.
4 drinks, 3 shots, a bottle of wine, and 1 person gets to go to Skywalker Ranch. So, like, if you and your family buy this, only one of you gets to go. So it's the Hunger Games. Get ready.
Yeah, really. That's the funny thing. Is like, it's just one person. So your last shot is the Watenshi Gin, and the utter disdain of your family because you were not giving up the Skywalker Ranch trip to any of them.
Oh yeah, I'd fight my mother who got me into Star Wars. I'd be like, "You're going down, Ma."
I know your weak spot. I'm going for the knees.
So yes, it's expensive. Yes, it comes with a lot of stuff. No, I will not be buying it. No, I will have no intention of buying it. No, I do not know anybody who would have any intention of buying it. And it's on a cruise, so yes, like cruises have outrageously priced drinks all the time. The only reason this is making press is because they put Star Wars on it.
Yeah,
right.
A ridiculous price tag that at first blush looks bananas, and then like they kind of justify it. It's to
still,
be able to buy something that
it's
you
just
can't
one
buy.
Banana as opposed to a whole batch of bananas.
Right. It's just like, oh, it's still for people who have FU money, but like I kind of understand. Like if I had that kind of money to throw around, sure, I'd be like, yeah, I can't buy a ticket to Skywalker Ranch. Let's go. You know. but no one I know or will ever know has that kind of money, so forget it.
Right. Well, and Jim, and you pointed out, to clarify for fandom, because a lot of people immediately thought, it's on the Halcyon, you're getting this drink there, and oh my God, it's already overpriced. And they're not doing anything like this at that or the park, right?
Not that they've
not
advertised,
really.
or I don't.
To me, it's smart.
Yeah, well, they haven't advertised this. This is really just that the press people kind of find out about it.
It's a story.
Yeah.
It's something to write about that's easy. You know what I mean? That people will share and click on. It's like clickbait without being clickbait. It's clickable, right?
Yeah, but
you can tell I worked in freaking media, can't you? But it's an easy, like, simple write-up in 200, 300 words. You get 1 million clicks in 3 seconds. Like, this is money. This is money for them. And that's the only reason, because it's outrageous.
And most of the people weren't even writing about what you got on it. I got this on the Disney food blog, which I know you enjoy.
I do.
But it was, I think, pulled out from a tweet. Scott Gustin tweeted about what you get in it. But I think most of the people all they were saying was 5,000 drink on the Disney Wish.
Yeah, because it's
that
quick
was
and
it.
it's easy and it's ridiculous.
Right.
Like, yes, you
And
can
I
make
think
it sound
because it comes in
ridiculous.
that safe, I think the people that are like more into the cosplay side of the Star Wars elements there are like, I wouldn't want to pay that. I'm already paying way too much to go on the cruise. And it's like, yeah, it's definitely as a separate entity going on a cruise ship, which I don't see myself doing. I mean, maybe the Star Wars cruise, but even then, like, my wife's got a big phobia of water, so I'm not going solo.
Yeah,
That's-
yeah. I watched Titanic too many times. That ain't happening. For me, so.
I want to do a Disney cruise, and the Disney Wish sounds super awesome, but apparently the Disney
cool.
Wish is their like premier class of cruise ship. It's not the cheap, what I can afford class of cruise ship. So I don't know.
It's just like the equivalent of staying in the princess room in the Disneyland park,
Pretty much. It's staying at the Grand Floridian versus staying at like Caribbean Beach or All-Star, the All-Star resorts. There's like definitely tiers, right? Mm-hmm. So same vibe. This is their deluxe resort of cruise ships.
I think the backlash is just mostly because most fans just take things way too seriously.
That's
if they'd have realized it was on a cruise ship,
but even
like,
then,
I ain't getting this.
Even then, even if it was on the Halcyon, you're not going to buy it. You're not going to get this drink wherever they had it. They do not require you to buy this drink. It does not matter. You probably won't even see the menu that this drink is on.
Yeah,
well, I tell you right now, I can save almost $5,000. I'm just going to go and get that little ice cream maker. That's all I need for $45. You said?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was kind of surprised they don't give you the Camtono, which seems more of an insult than anything else, because you can get one of those now in the Disney parks for $45. I looked on the Disney parks website, and it is sold out. So I don't know if they are like periodic.
It should be a popcorn bucket,
right?
Oh.
It should absolutely... Listen, free idea, Disney. That's your next popcorn bucket. Mm-hmm. Love Figment, but no. Give me a Camtono popcorn bucket.
Not a popcorn bucket.
It should be.
An ice cream bucket.
They don't do those. I wish they did.
Know,
they have
but...
sippers. They have sippers, and they have popcorn buckets. Pick one, Jim. I want the popcorn bucket.
But it looks like an ice cream maker.
Of course it does, but they
so
don't
you
do
bring the whole,
free
you bring it
refills.
whole circle. You bring it whole circle.
Put little Dippin' Dots inside.
Oh no, nobody should be eating Dippin' Dots. Like that's just
once
a
in
crime.
a while. I'm okay with the Dippin' Dot, but once a decade.
Unless you're at the Air and Space Museum, that is the only place that those are appropriate.
Right? It's like the ice cream equivalent of eating fondant.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, that's good.
So I forgot.
Once,
I forgot to mention.
Second time 5 years later. Sorry,
I was in Target the other day.
Oh, you found the boy?
And I found one of their Stitch.
He looks very different than mine.
He does.
What's going on?
Different colors. His horse.
What happened?
How much are these?
I have no idea. I literally do not. All I know is I found one. Yep.
Those are awesome.
Right? I think he was $10. But that's when
yeah,
they first dropped. I got him.
My horns are orange. Yours look like a tan.
Yeah, they're they're beige, very light beige.
Yeah, mine are like a deep orange.
Yeah. And your guy looks a little more blue than mine.
Nicole's looks
I
like the
think that's
legit
just-
one,
that's
and
just
Jim's
coloring
looks like the
in
one
my
you
lighting.
get in like another country where they're like, "Hey, I got this toy for you. It's G.I. Jane."
Yeah, it's Yoshi versus Yasho.
Okay, my guy's like
Yeah.
my guy's like almost pure white.
Oh, okay. This is gray. This
Oh,
is
okay.
very
so
gray.
okay. So the funny
Like-
thing is, I was sitting here working on my work computer is literally like I'm staring at you guys. My work computer is immediately to my left, and so I'm sitting there working on my work computer, and I have my one puppy, my 70-pound puppy, and I'm sitting here working, and all of a sudden I hear like talking, and I'm like, nobody like shouldn't be hearing like talking, and I'm like, wait a second, I'm like, that's not talking, that's. And I turn around, and my dog has my tauntaun in the mouth, and she just keeps chomping on it to make it do the noise. I'm like, no.
Yeah. No. Thankfully, my cat's got no interest in this. But I love him, and he just sits on my desk all the time. But yeah, it's funny that he looks different. I don't know what that's about. I got mine at Target
different
as well.
batch.
Yeah, this was like when it dropped, so I guess they updated.
I guess so, because I literally got mine like a couple days ago.
This is fun for me.
I mean, I guess it makes sense that they'd be different colors if they're on different planets. I mean, one
I guess.
on Hoth be darker. You get one on Felucia.
Sure.
Not so
Why
gray.
not?
Ilum. All right, we ready to talk some Brotherhood?
I guess. Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Built 1,000 generations ago to keep these, the original Jedi texts.
All right. So our discussion today is on. I also have a hard copy cover of which I opened it maybe once because I listened to the audiobook, but I can't not buy the hardcover because I am the people that Lucasfilm thrives on.
They love you.
Yeah, they really do. The book is by Mike Chen, who is the first-time novelist for Star Wars. He did write a short story in the Empire Strikes Back from a Certain Point of View book, but this is his first novel in it, and it takes place roughly a month, probably from a little less than a month to about 2 months after Attack of the Clones. So we are dealing with immediate events after Attack of the Clones, but before the Clone Wars movie.
Right.
And it felt it. Like I kept hearing the voice of Anakin in the Clone Wars movie and Attack of the Clones in this book.
No, I just heard Hayden, but go on. But I just heard him saying it's outrageous, it's unfair, like over and over and over again. And we got a sand reference like 3 times. I was like, Mike Chen, the voice of the people. Like, we all know. I don't know if you know, Mark, but I'm a prequels kid.
Nice.
I was born in 92. Phantom Menace was the first Star Wars movie I ever saw. This is my era. I am the target audience for this. And there were a lot of times where like Anakin's talking about sand and I'm laughing out loud and it's the best day of my life. And then there's other parts of this book.
I loved every time they would do Anakin looking at his hand and the internal processes of him using the hand, using the Force, using it while in combat and different things, and like the way he finally ended up accepting it and molding that and making it so it was no longer a handicap, so to speak.
It was real. I loved it because I had never even thought about that aspect.
And the fact that he is so technical to begin with.
Yes.
Now that part of him's technical, and he's obsessing over the hand. Like, he doesn't even care about the combat. He only cares about the hand. And he's like, the hand's not doing things the right way. It's like, my real hand's faster than this hyper, like, souped up hand. Like, why isn't, like, things working right?
Yeah. He's very hyper fixated on his... Listen, Anakin is the kind of guy who he doesn't go in like 10% or 20% or even 50%. If he's into something mentally, it's 150,000%. Look at Padme. Like, he's not just a little into his wife. He is obsessed with his wife. He is obsessed with his hand. And, yeah, it's interesting.
I feel like
interesting.
that can cause issues at some. Like,
Yep.
It seems. I don't want to project, but things. If he doesn't like figure things out, that I stuff can go wrong.
Listen, I heard it as soon as I said it. Yes. That's a dangerous game to be playing, sir. Especially when, you're usually half a galaxy away from your wife. And your former master is very much onto your nonsense. Like, so interesting. I loved the Brotherhood aspect of this book. I thought that was so incredibly well done. The things that I love about Master and Apprentice, I loved about this book. The problem is they're like never together.
I was gonna say that. Like, you're like the Brotherhood aspect. I'm like, yeah, except
emotionally,
they
mentally.
are. Like, I did my review for AIPT Comics, and I said that like they get together about 3/4 of the way through the book. Like, they are not together, and even then they're not together all like a ton. Like, but mostly 3/4 of the way through the book is when they meet up. But it's more about them learning to live without each other.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's very interesting, but it really came together for me in that sense. Because, yeah, you can be talking about this bond between the two of them by talking about... It's like negative space in art, right? Like, you are using the fact that they are not together to show how, like, united they are and how their, like, relationship is changing. They're not master and apprentice anymore. They're, like, it's a different dynamic, and they're figuring that out. But it's almost better for them because they don't have the father-son, master-Padawan relationship. They never did. They're brothers. And I love that, like, Obi-Wan has this beautiful epiphany about how, like, yeah, they shared a father in Qui-Gon, really. And
that was great.
I somehow didn't see that coming, and I'm like a Qui-Gon
I didn't
super lady. Like,
Yeah.
I loved that surprised me in such a way. It's interesting how there are parts of this book that are like 10 out of 10 phenomenal, and then there's other moments where I'm like, this is clunky at best.
Like the way
slow, I don't even mind. Slow,
Well,
I don't mind. I mean the technical writing.
the way I felt the beginning was very slow. It took a while to build up, but when you get to the end hits hard.
It does.
Yeah. When I think about the Brotherhood aspect, though, it takes on multiple meanings because you got we're brothers, but like I'm in the Order of the Arrow with Scouts, and once you get to the second level, it's Brotherhood, and when you think about the Jedi Order in that regard, it totally makes sense the way Obi-Wan starts looking at Anakin, and he's like, there's a mention about how before, when Anakin and him would do their quips back and forth, it was more of that father and son and really snotty, but now, because Anakin is considered a knight, they're more on equal ground, and it was more a one-upmanship, and they both took more pleasure in it in that aspect. I thought that was a really cool aspect of how they're now looking at each other more as equals, and it toned Anakin's view of Obi-Wan to a different degree too, because now he's able to actually, come up to him and have ideas that aren't just shot down right away, which was kind of cool to see them actually interact like that.
I feel it was more an Obi-Wan book than an Anakin book, because Anakin has a lot of issues that he needs to deal with and clearly doesn't, to be frank, but it's Obi-Wan kind of maturing, because he never really got that opportunity. He went straight from Padawan to Master within the course of like an hour. And like he never like had the opportunity to just be a knight or now master all by himself. And so I feel it's like he needs time to process, I'm not in control of this kid anymore. I need to live my own life. I need to learn how to do things my own way. And I need to let that kid make his own mistakes.
Yeah. I think there's a good amount of growth for Anakin here as well, especially with Mill, who is what a gem. What a little gem she is. I adore everything about her. That little Zabrak girl is a champion. I think the two main, other characters we deal with, I'm saying in my head Rug, but I don't know how they're saying it in the audiobook.
That's the audiobook.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, Rug and Mill are so good. I didn't feel like we were wasting our time with them in a book that's about Obi-Wan and Anakin. I didn't think that their chapters were wasted. The opposite, in fact. I thought that seeing Anakin and Obi-Wan through their eyes was really interesting, and they're fascinating characters in their own right. So I thought those bits were also really, really strong, which on paper shouldn't have been, and a book very clearly about these guys to be like, hey, here's these other two ladies. I loved that. I really, really enjoyed it. I loved their characters. I would love to see more of them. I don't see how that would ever happen, but yeah, I can dream. I really liked those additions, and they're completely new characters. Yes, I've never seen them.
As far as I'm aware.
Yeah, they're great.
Mill had a great moment. I think it was around page 58, where she's talking about the nature of the Clone Wars and how the whole war is about systems leaving the Republic. And I'm like, why aren't more people bringing this up? Why aren't we letting people have freedom here to just go off and do what we want? No, we're going to start a whole war over it.
Well,
yeah,
that's
it's
the
interesting.
U.S. did the exact same thing.
Yeah, we did.
Right. And there were a lot of parallels like that I picked up when they were talking about the Nemoidians. There was a moment where it was we're only seen as this, we're not seen as anything else. And when the one guy was going to sabotage a lot of the historical places, and the reasoning why he wanted to do that made me think about, how the last, it's 10 years or so with the U.S. of how, everybody's always we're a global superpower. To we're not as high up the chain as we once thought, I felt a lot of those parallels.
There's definitely real world parallels for a lot of what's going on here, but I'm glad you bring up the Nemoidia, Cato Nemoidia. What an interesting place that, I think deserved kind of this highlight, because obviously, as we've seen them in the movies, the Nemoidians are not painted in the best light. They are horrendous racial caricatures that make me deeply uncomfortable. So to kind of be here's a completely different view of what's going on over here, while not negating the damage of these characters in the movie, I really enjoyed that development for these people, and also to get a Nemoidian who we like a lot,
That's
I had to remind myself sometimes that they were Nemoidians, because of the way they were just wrote. You didn't get that same kind of sleazy feel that you got from the original films.
which is great. Such good.
Yeah, Rug
good news.
never felt like the stiff, all the Nemoidians, because of the animatronics that are associated with the costumes, they always appeared very stiff and very upright.
Or statues.
And so that is the
Bad.
impression that I get in my head, is these stiff characters. Rug never felt that way. That's why I agree with you. Is oh yeah, she is a Nemoidian. She kind of expands our knowledge of this race.
Yeah. And on the other side of that, Qatar, same thing in a very, very different way. He's so dynamic and so interesting and so proud of his people, which great. It's just, they were such different people, and I feel we've only gotten one note Nemoidians, especially in the movies. So it was, I feel it was in really good hands. It's very clear, and I'm thrilled that that's kind of been given more of a three-dimensional view of these people.
Yeah, to kind of give, I probably should have done this earlier, kind of give a brief summary of the book.
Oh, sure.
There's a bombing on Cato Nemoidia, very reminiscent of, I feel the 9/11 attacks, an explosion that took out a very large portion of their city. They don't know who did it. They think it's the Republic. Republic saying, yeah, it wasn't us. The Separatists are saying, yes, the Republic, so they need somebody to come in and figure out who did this. Obi-Wan convinces them that it should be him. I still don't know how he did that because I don't think Neimoidians like Obi-Wan very much. But yeah, so Obi-Wan goes. Eventually, he gets into trouble. Anakin comes in and saves him. And
well, actually, he didn't really save him.
No, he didn't
Obi-Wan
really
had
save
it well
him.
in hand.
That
the
doesn't
business
count.
on Cato Neimoidia doesn't count.
In my review,
And
I literally put that as the opening line.
Nice.
I loved and hated that we got that exact line in
the
it was
book?
almost like Obi-Wan looked out from the book, made eye contact with us, and said, "It doesn't count." Like it was the
he held up the
break.
book. It doesn't
was
count.
No,
But it just makes the film, though. It's like the 30,000th time he's told Anakin, it doesn't count.
yeah, listen. That's what I mean when I say sometimes
It was clunky.
a little clunky. And this is like my biggest one. I'm sorry to derail. That's pretty much the plot
That's
of
pretty
the
much
book.
like it.
That's it.
It's not a complicated arc. Like it
No, it's not.
isn't.
It's not an action. There's action in it. Ventress is there, which is great. As soon as
First
that
encounter.
yes, which is so cool. And as soon as they started describing her, it took one line for me to be like, "It's Ventress," like immediately.
I was like, wait a minute, is this the first time? Because I didn't know when it was placed, and that's
Yeah.
what made me realize, oh, this is a lot sooner. Because we had the big event of Anakin's knighting at the start, and you're like, okay, so
No,
this is clearly
it's even
earlier.
We never get his knighting.
We didn't know. That's right. We only got the after effect of the knighting.
Yeah, like he has still yet to be knighted. Because there's also the Queen's Hope. I think it is the
Yes.
third book, which is that during when he gets knighted, but he's not in the book. So he is knighted between chapters off screen, and then we have this book, which takes place after his knighting. We still have not seen his knighting, despite them saying that we are going to see it in one of these books.
My God. But yeah, it's not an action driven book. This is an emotional arc more than anything else. Even
It's
though
a
there's
character.
action in it, this is definitely good character work. But and in that sense, very, very, very well done. This is a very well put together book. I don't know that Lucas Publishing, whatever the heck, Disney, whatever, whoever is responsible for this.
Del Rey.
Thank you. I don't think they'd put out a shoddy piece of work. So this is quite good. If I have to read the phrase "good faith" one more time, I'm gonna throw up. It was one of those things that if I were editing this book, I would have hit find, like search, find in good faith, and just replaced 90% of them. It was the biggest pet peeve I have is when you use a phrase in your writing over and over and over again, and it's not like a normal one. Like, it's not like something you use every day. A couple times would have been fine. Okay, but it's on in, I think, every chapter of Obi-Wan's focus. Like, it is absurd. I counted it 3 times on one page at one point. I was like, this is where I have an issue. But as writers, we do that all the time. We're writing in almost an echo chamber. It's an editing problem, not a writing problem. But it drove me bananas, and I'm wondering if that bothered either of you or if I'm a maniac writer person.
The audio book, I don't get those problems. When I physically read a book, because I do both, I'll have one book I'm reading, one book I'm audioing, but they're very different books, so I don't get them mixed up in my head. I can pick out those things when I'm reading. When I'm listening, I'm not hyper focused on the words, and so I'm just like getting the story. So I don't get that a lot of the time, just because it just keeps going. Like you don't set your pace in an audiobook. The audiobook sets the pace. So
Right. Pay attention or you're lost.
Right.
Now, I kept wondering why Obi-Wan was saying it so much, and then what is his name? Kintar or something like that.
Kitar,
Yeah,
yeah.
Kitar. He goes about it,
Kitar.
and I'm just like, okay,
Kitar?
yeah, that's why we did it right here, so he could use it as a foil against Obi-Wan later, because he uses it mockingly.
Yeah, he
about,
does.
Oh, the Republic wants to be fair. We've seen fair. Like he did a good job of turning it on Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan's like going into it like this is not going to end well.
And then he still uses it 5 more times. You know what I mean? It's just like, bro, I get it. You're here in good faith. I understand, bro. And like, it seems to be his go-to, and it's actually a politics thing. And if this was the intention, it's brilliant. Because at the end, we get people saying like Obi-Wan should go into politics, and all I hear in my head is, "I'm not brave enough for politics." Like, it's all I hear, and it's hysterical. But if that's the intention, to like use this as like, this is his like catchphrase, and this is his like being political and just saying like the same thing over and over and over again, you know what I mean? Like, then that works. But I feel like he says it so many times to the same people that it doesn't.
Well, he's just,
I don't know.
It's like those people
nitpicking.
that try to have a catchphrase but don't really work, so he keeps repeating it. He's like, no,
Yes.
it's gonna stick, guys. I'm doing this in good faith.
Yeah. He's trying to make
either
fetch
one-
happen.
Right? Have either one of you guys played the Obi-Wan game on Xbox?
I have,
No.
actually.
Okay, so when I played that, I sucked at it. And all I ever heard was Obi-Wan. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It's like, it's like that game when the button got stuck.
Yeah, there you go.
It's in good faith.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, guys, I am nitpicking a lot here, but it bothered me in an otherwise pretty darn solid book. I enjoyed it very much. Like I said, I'm the target audience for this, so A+.
It's a good nitpick, though. I mean,
Yeah.
Chen has a style that reminded me very much of James Luciano, with bringing in elements of other stories and referencing things. Frick, that material was mentioned. Siri Tachi was mentioned.
I noticed that she was mentioned.
Yeah, there was a reference to Kai Adamundi having scars after an encounter with Grievous. I'm like, oh, is that like a subtle reference to the Gendy?
So actually, he referenced the Gendy series elsewhere. He had mentioned, Anakin mentions at the end when he's talking to Ventress, he said, "I have dealt with other minions of Dooku." And he was talking about his battle with Ventress. Not Chen had commented, I saw it on Twitter, he's like, he didn't really get a good look at her when they were fighting in the Gendy series, so he's like playing off of that by saying that I dealt with other minions of Dooku, meaning it was you, which is kind of weird because it doesn't, like, the timeline doesn't
doesn't-
really
I
work
assumed
out.
Dirge. I figured it was Dirge that he had ran into the first time.
No, that's I was trying to figure out what was that reference, and I just happened to come across it on his Twitter.
Another one was Mace Windu on Dantooine going up against all the droids. I'm like, oh, that was such a great moment in the Gendy series.
Did they?
But there were so many.
He must have. I didn't even catch that one. He really like played up that Gendy series.
Yeah, and then it also felt like Stover. Like when they would talk about the Sun Dragon and stuff, like I definitely got these Stover vibes, and the way Stover would always kind of blow things up, with the line of, that business on Catanonia don't count. Like, we get the backstory on that, which definitely had that same feel I got when I read Revenge of the Sith the first time. I was like, oh my God, this book.
Yeah, I really liked, there are moments where the writing is almost poetic and it's beautiful, and he really shines prose wise, just like talking about like the syntax and the word choices that he's picking out. Really, really, really well done. I love the Sun Dragon imagery. I loved the way Mill kind of sees the Sun Dragon in Anakin. I love that imagery. It's beautiful. But then you also have In Good Faith. So it's really the dichotomy. It's like the duality of man here. He like clearly is such a skilled writer on like the base like prose syntax level, which is so impressive. And the arc is great. Like, it's really fascinating and really, really captivating. And, I'd read 40 pages at a clip and be like, I could keep going. I'm not gonna, because I gotta go to work. But, like, I could. And it's just brilliant. It was really, really good. It was really solid. I really wish the editing was tighter. Or someone had pointed it out, But
Yeah.
there's other
There was a lot of
examples,
setup, too.
Yeah.
What I really enjoyed was the way little subtle things we mentioned, like we got rumors about the Jedi Temple's repair lab being converted for the war effort, and they're like, guesses as to what it could be. But by the end of the book, Palpatine makes an official decree to make the Jedi Order an actual part of the Grand Army of the Republic, which they were working like that in Legends, but it was never an official actual order coming down from the government. I'm like, that's one more nail in the coffin for sure, man.
That's what I.
Yeah, it's. Go ahead, Jim.
I feel like Mike Chen filled in a lot of holes that we didn't really realize that we had when we look
Yes.
at Attack of the Clones. Like even just the character arcs. Obi-Wan in Attack of the Clones is apparently an investigator. Well, he plays up on that investigation in this story. In the Clone Wars movie, he's all of a sudden the great negotiator. Where did that come from? Still came out of nowhere. Still has nothing to do with anything else. All of a sudden, he brings that into this story. By the end of it, he's like, they mentioned a couple times. He's like, oh, you do the negotiations, and that's what you were saying about the politics.
Yes.
He's like, so he tied it into those two. Plus, you have Anakin, this headstrong, newly knighted, married kid at the beginning of the book. By the end, or by the Clone Wars, he's taking on a Padawan. And how do we get there? That's where Mill comes in. Like, I'm constantly sitting through this whole book. I'm like, Mill and him are getting along so well. What happens to Mill?
I thought she was dead. I was like, this is going to be very sad.
I didn't think she would die, because if she died, he would be heartbroken and not want to take a Padawan. Something had to happen that she would go off and do something, like become somebody else's Padawan or something. I couldn't figure it out. Like, she had to be taken off the board somehow, that they wouldn't have her as a Padawan. And I kept thinking in my head the line that he says in the Clone Wars, where he's talking to Ahsoka. I said something like, you would never have made it as Obi-Wan's Padawan, but you'll probably make it as mine.
Yeah.
Just might make it
You
as
just
mine.
might make it as mine.
And that line was Anakin in this book. Like, everything, like that, whoever wrote the lines in that movie, like, I felt like wrote his lines in this book. It like melded perfectly.
There was... See, that was one of my other things that I was like, the editing needed to be better on this book. And I don't know who the editor was. I'm not going to call them out by name because I didn't read that far into the credits of this book. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it to this person. It's probably multiple editors. But the fact that Anakin says several times that he never wants a Padawan, it's the worst thing that could ever happen to him. And we all know that he has Ahsoka. Like, let's not be stupid. Everyone reading this book knows about Ahsoka. It's like, you needed that line one time. You needed that once, maybe twice. It's like 4 times, and I'd cut that in half, because that's when it gets clunky and to be too much. But again, I really think that's something that could have been solved in editing, but whatever. Because you want to make sure it gets in there once, right? So, like, you write it 4 times so it doesn't get completely cut. Like, I would do that too.
He's like, they got all of them in? How the heck?
Yeah, he's probably like, what? I mean, I don't know, man. But it's something that is, my point is, it's not just on Mike Chen, those things. That's several people that should have flagged that, in my personal opinion. But it being in there is genius, because how does Anakin go from Clone War, like Attack of the Clones Anakin rather, to what we see with Ahsoka in the Clone Wars? I watched that movie, but I slept through it. So, but this book made me want to watch Attack of the Clones, and that never happens. Like, I'm a prequels baby, but I don't rewatch that movie. It's Phantom Menace and Sith, and that's about it. But I now want to watch Attack of the Clones this weekend so very badly. Which is, listen, that's one of the best compliments I can give you. Like, it's great. But also, I'm sorry, guys, I have a lot of thoughts.
No.
Similarly with the, using Jedi structures for the war effort, what gave it away for me, what I loved, was the fact that they mention a couple times, and not too many, this was like, well done, that for some reason the clones call the Jedi's general, and like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you do that? And then they're made generals, like, and it's like, oh yeah, it's in the clones, like, training and programming, so they don't have to then, like, adjust to the, like, that was the plan the whole time. And I was like, Palpatine's a master. Like, he is such a master. And
I love how nobody
terrifying.
questions these things too. It's like, we
Yeah,
have a clone
yeah.
army from nowhere. Okay, let's use it. They're
It's
calling
gone
us
too quick.
generals. Okay, let's
Yeah.
go with it.
It's gone too quick for anyone to call anything out. And it's just like, listen, this is weird, but very convenient. And they're just kind of going with it. And it's funny, like, how many times they reference the fact that, like, someone's playing on both sides, and there's that kind of, like, denial of, like, no, but the Jedi would have sensed it. And it's like, Mill points out, in, like, perfectly the problem with the Jedi, that they don't care about helping people anymore. They are a political entity, which that's why I love the prequel so much. It's like, look at these idiots. It's great. It's so interesting to me. And it's handled very, very well in this book. Like, you believe that these people are like, I'm noticing this is weird, but I have no time to think about it. And if I question it, like, it's gonna ruffle feathers, and I need these clones anyway. And it's, I don't really care that they're calling me general. And then by the time I would have said something, I'm a general anyway. So it's moot. It's really, really, really well executed.
Yeah,
I like when they're picking out their armor even at the end of the book. You're like, oh, that's how they went to the Clone Wars armor.
There's one thing I really did not like about this book. The whole purpose of the book, Obi-Wan is researching who did the bombing.
Yeah.
Who did the bombing?
It's Palpatine, bro. We know they don't. Like, it's very obvious that it's Palpatine
did not plant the bombs. Like, clearly
No, he hired someone to do it.
But we never got that person. Like, we should have somebody. Like, clearly somebody is playing both sides. They set it up to be both sides. That was the whole point of the story, that you had them. The bombings were rigged to look like both sides are to blame. But we don't have the scapegoat. Like yes, it was Palpatine, but we don't have anybody to get thrown to the fire, and that is the problem. Is that we needed somebody to blame for this, because right now we have nobody, and they have nobody.
I must have fallen asleep during that part, because I thought Keter was the one, because I know he sets the last bomb.
He sets the last bombs. No, he never set
the initial bombing
original
was
bombs.
not him,
because they distinctly described the skill that went into the initial bombs and his bombs, which were haphazard. And so they described they made a point, or Mike Chen made a point of describing those two different bombings very, very differently, so that you wouldn't.
That makes sense. I was confused why they let him, get away in a sense with it and not make him take the fall. That makes more sense because they didn't have anything to time. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it's a good point. I wasn't bothered because I had an answer, and I was satisfied with Palpatine as an answer, which is very obvious to the reader that he's the mastermind here. And you're kind of like, how are y'all missing this? Yeah, I was like, ooh, buddy. He is the Phantom Menace, isn't he? But yeah, it's just, I don't know who it was, and now that's gonna bother me.
See, that's what, like, you have the purpose of this entire story. Yes, the purpose was so that Obi-Wan can move on, and they can get their own life and that sort of yada yada yada. No, the purpose of the story was to find out who bombed the Cato Nemoidia, and it never had an answer.
Yeah, that was his whole purpose. The whole purpose of going to Cato Nemoidia was figuring that out. And
Did we just get
failed.
a Lost Ark?
It's
like Indiana Jones all over again.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder if there's another book that they're planning to kind of like allude to it and be like, hey, whatever.
Seems
if
like
it'll
a
be
stretch.
buried somewhere else. I don't know. Like, they could just be like, yeah, we'll throw that answer somewhere else. Like, whatever. It'll be
Ahsoka
like
meets Mill.
a little like aside, like, oh yeah, we finally found the agents or whatever who planted the bombs on Cato Nemoidia or whatever. But I don't need it. I don't need that answer to be satisfied with what we got. But it's completely valid.
No, I don't.
Is.
I 100% greatly enjoyed this book, but there's just that little bit that goes.
It's annoying.
It's annoying. It really is. It's like you get to the end of the book and you're like, that was a great book, and then you start to think about it and go, wait a second.
Yeah, I've been duped. It's the only explanation I'd have, and this is again AP lit big writer brain.
It was Sheev.
Going
Sheev the whole time. Sheev
It was
out
Sheev
there.
the whole team. Yeah, Sheev the whole time. But yes, but I wonder if it's meant to show you like, oh, you didn't realize it until like you had space away from the book to be like, wait, I don't know who did it. To kind of show you like, this is how quickly this war is moving. That stuff's gonna get left open. Threads are gonna be left hanging. They're not gonna all tie up pretty. And that's why no one ever figures out that it's Palpatine until it's way, 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 way too late. I wonder if that's like the big high level, like, you know, the Gatsby lighthouse thing, the eyes on the billboard. What does it all really mean? It's not actually in the text, it's subtext, you know. I wonder if that's the point that that book is trying to make, but that's big brain stuff that I don't know. If I were still in like AP Lit, I'd write a whole thesis on it and have thoughts and sources and whatever.
So we need to
I
get.
don't know that it's that deep.
We need to
but-
get Mike Chen on the podcast and go. Why? Who did it? Who did it?
Yeah. Like,
We need to
you
know.
But
was
the-
this the point? Yeah.
Who did it? with the light in his eyes.
Like, are you the smartest writer in the world? Or
So
like,
Nicole, you know how you mentioned, you know, that certain things peeved you off? I noticed for me, for the first time, I really got hung up on the word master. I'm like, you know, the Jedi should have never used that word as the rank of mastery of the Force, because Anakin's just a knight, and like everybody's calling him a master. I'm just like, what?
it's
started to
just
really annoy
like
the hell out of me.
Padawans call all the knights master as a kind of like sir. So it's
Yeah.
like it's just an honorary title.
I was just sitting there. I'm like, honestly, Anakin, you don't need to be a master. I mean, granted, the book made it clear that he wanted to get into those archives, but
That's
I mean,
it.
You know, he was
Well,
fishing
it's
for a
every
title
time
that he
somebody
had.
said Master Skywalker, he's like, "Damn right, kid."
yeah.
Yeah, they triggered him.
I'm just sitting there going like, you may be in this book, but we do not grant you the rank of master. Like, I'm just yelling at my book. Like, it just, and every time, also, the Mace Windu death glares in this book, so good. Like, approved.
Mace,
Love that.
Mace Window. Mace Window.
Mace Windu, he does go through the window, Jim.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Oh,
Horrid.
yeah. Mace Window was a bit much in this book.
There's still no body. I gotta keep saying it. I gotta
Right?
keep saying it.
He was supposed.
There's
There was
no
rumor he'd come back in the
body.
Kenobi show.
Listen, I'm waiting for weathered Mace Windu to show up in like Andor or some nonsense. Like, I'm ready. Like, where we least expect him. Won't be Ahsoka. Won't be like Acolyte or whatever the hell. Like, watch him show up in Acolyte, which is like before he's born. Like, he's gonna show up and we're all gonna be like, what the heck? But no body, no death.
Yep.
And-
My
yeah.
dream Mace moment would be him showing up and teaching Rey.
Oh, I love that. Piss
Have him
everyone
skip
off.
everything else and just show up and just be like, all right, I'm taking the reins.
Yeah. All right.
He'd be like
You all
100
got
years
your
old.
Stupid out of the way. Okay, I'm here.
Like, come limping in on a cane.
Love it.
Have I told you about
Hey.
the Avengers Initiative?
Oh no! You just hurt me in ways I can't understand. Oh my god!
All right, so I got one more thing. We kind of mentioned her a little bit, Asajj.
Ah, our girl, Ventress, our lady.
I love Asajj. I love that she got basically the intro that we skipped over in the Clone Wars movie, where she meets Obi-Wan, and it's funny because we all know, like you said, Anakin. We all know about Ahsoka. We all know Anakin gets a Padawan. We all know about Asajj too. We all know, like, when she's there that she's basically the Sith witch. And we're just waiting for it to happen. And you can see, like, he alluded to it. He's like, "Oh, I saw some kind of metal glinting on her belt," and like, "Oh, come on."
Yeah, like, you're right there. You're right there. You got it. So good. Yeah, it was a slow burn reveal that wasn't annoying. It was just like, come on! Like, it was good. It was really good. Yeah.
Did you guys catch the jab at Lucas's writing in episode 2?
No.
Oh, it's great. There was a chapter, I think it was chapter 36, around page 208. Anakin's talking about how when he was thinking back to his time with Padme, he would cringe now at what he said back then.
Oh, well, yeah.
That's what I did. Yeah.
I didn't pick up on that. But
Don't
you're
worry,
absolutely
kid.
right.
We all
That is
cringe.
Right?
That's why I don't watch
No.
that movie a lot, man. Like, I know people who that is their favorite Star Wars movie, and I go ahead. Love that for you. I can't watch it without just being like, ugh. But it's been a while, so maybe I can. I don't know. But yeah, it was. That's funny. That kind of just like, because I do that. You give me a Star Wars book, I am absolutely throwing jabs. Like, I'm going for it. And yeah, that's a good point that he did that. He really did. Proud of you, bud.
So, now, correct me if I'm wrong. When Anakin was fighting Asajj, they never had her hit him in the eye and give him the scar, right?
I think so.
I don't think so.
I kept waiting for it. I don't remember seeing it. But what I thought was funny was there was a moment where Obi-Wan's blade was going by and it accidentally hit Anakin. And I was like, how funny would that have been if that's how he got the scar?
That's right. You're right. They never did. They still haven't explained the scar because I remember Dave Filoni had made a comment that if he had to go back and do it all again, he would be the one to give Anakin a scar as opposed to giving him a scar at the beginning of the Clone Wars movie. Because that's supposedly it's based off Gendy again, where Asajj gives him the scar, and so that's where he got the scar. But in canon that gets wiped away,
we
so we still don't have an answer for where the scar comes from.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. Okay. I kept thinking like maybe I missed it. I went back and read it again. I'm like, okay, no, I don't recall that happening yet.
No, but
No, it doesn't seem it.
I like your thinking that it was Obi-Wan though.
I like that. I do. Like, dang. Yeah, that was some good. I liked every moment where Obi-Wan was like, if only Anakin were here. And I was just like, he is, honey. Just give him 30 seconds.
Well,
He's here.
Obi-Wan is vandalizing a national treasure to hide his lightsaber in.
Right.
Maniac.
Oh.
The man's a maniac. I love him. Also, I know we're at overtime, but like, bro, the hair thing at the end, the explanation for why Obi-Wan doesn't have his mullet, and I'm in, the Obi-Wan mullet fan club. We know this. But like, that's hilarious. That Anakin's like, yeah, me and Padme laugh about it, but I'm not gonna tell him that. Like, and he's like personally offended, and then like he doesn't say anything, nothing happens, and then like the next page, he has a haircut. It's the best. It's just so funny and so Obi-Wan and Anakin. Like, Obi-Wan would never let Anakin know that bothered him that much. He won't say anything, but he's gonna cut his hair. Like, he's doing it. Very funny, very good. That was a laugh out loud moment for me. A+. A+ work, Mike Chen.
What did you guys think about the epilogue? Because, like, when we got to the last 3 chapters, I felt like the first 2 of the last 3 wrapped the book up really good. And then, we get Roog's character on the very last one. And for me, like, the best part about it was just watching the droids go down. Everything else, I was kind of like, well, those felt really weird. It was almost like the end of Angel, where they're all running off to go fight. And I'm like, what? That's it?
I questioned why they were back on Cato Nemoidia so quick, like Obi-Wan and Anakin. Because they talked about these prisoners escaping, and it sounded to me, and I was reading it very quickly, so maybe I'm an idiot, but I read the prisoners escaping as though it happened, like, on Coruscant, and then we're at Cato Nemoidia, and it's happening there.
Oh,
And
no.
I was in the same boat.
Yeah.
What?
It was...
I had to go back and reread.
They
I'm
said
like, Cody gave
that
him...
there's a ship crash, if I remember correctly. A ship crash.
Yeah.
5 prisoners were on the ship.
Yeah.
They all died, but one of the bodies was missing.
Right. Which was rude.
We found out it was Rube. I thought it was Kitar until we get that epilogue. And so I'm wondering if he did the epilogue just to emphasize that it was Roog, not Kitar.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt like it was a little disjointed in execution, but like, it doesn't bother me. It was just like a way to end on Obi-Wan and Anakin, but like from an outside perspective, which is fine. But I also feel like you could have done something with Mill. But everyone kind of needed an ending, and everyone got one except Roog. So
yeah, like I think
Fine.
we got the ending with Mill. Mill's doing her own thing, which I think it worked perfectly, especially for her character, her Force connection.
Yeah.
And I really liked Obi-Wan. The whole explanation of why doesn't Obi-Wan know Anakin and Padme are married kind of gets answered in this book. He doesn't know they're married, but he's
pretty sure something's up.
He's pretty sure something's up, but he also thinks back on his own life with Satine, and that he needs to basically let Anakin make his own mistakes, especially now that he's a knight. It's not his problem. And that's my favorite. He's like, it's not my problem. He needs to figure out his own way.
Yeah.
Maybe not the best course of action, but it probably was the right course of action.
Yeah, it didn't end up great for him. But I think I also do know that there is part of Obi-Wan that does not want to admit how bad it is. That this is not him and Satine, because Anakin is a completely different person than he is. And Padme is very like Satine, actually, so I'm going to stop that sentence right now. But Anakin and Obi-Wan are two very, very different people. So, of course, it ended differently, right? Like, you have two people who are very committed to their duties. You get Obi-Wan and Satine. You have one person who's more of an emotional... how do I say this? Mess. And one completely committed to their duties. You're gonna get what happens with Anakin and Padme, unfortunately. And I think Obi-Wan is really trying to be optimistic because he loves them. He does. He loves both of them. And I think that even if he did know for sure, he wouldn't want to mess it up. I mean, he knows immediately that Anakin's the father of Padme's children.
Who else does she hang out with?
Not really. Well, we had that one guy.
It's like
in Clone Wars.
It's like the original trilogy. Leia's my sister. Yeah, because there's no other girls in the trilogy.
There's no other woman to be related to you. That's it. It's not Mon Mothma. So that's it. That's what we have.
So, what about Asajj though? Do you guys feel like the way they wrote her out of the story was okay, or should we got one more chapter of her to have some closure? I mean, because we never really got her point of view. I think there's only one chapter was actually had her name on it.
Yeah, interesting choice. I would rather omit her POV altogether because, like, we have books that do that. I didn't really need that. It's interesting. But I didn't need closure for Asajj because I guess it's because it wasn't recently, it was like 9 months ago, read a book that's like mostly her POV. So I was like, yeah,
Dark
okay,
Disciple.
I know. Yeah, so good. Such a good book. So upsetting. Really, really good book. I didn't need that from her. She was a major character in a lot of ways, but I really needed the main four. And she was kind of just an antagonist.
And I liked how, like, it was first person point of view, but each chapter was somebody different, and each chapter was titled with that person's name. And we get Anakin and Obi-Wan are the majority, but you're right, we get Mill and Roog throughout the rest of the book sprinkled in to kind of get you different points of view on Anakin and Obi-Wan without breaking the flow of the book. And I really liked both of them, and I'm glad that we get them.
I like the relationship that Mill pulls out of Anakin when you're talking about the heart, and he's like, you got a heart, you got to, that's, you care. And the way she was able to then use her ability as she kind of progressed along and was able to use the hospital, and how she figured out why the guards weren't there and stuff, all through her feelings in the Force. I was like, oh, that's pretty deep. Chen did a good job with that.
She was leveling up.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
She's very smart.
She was right there on the edge.
I'm really glad that she was like, I'm not going to be a Jedi. I was like, good. Leave them. They're a mess.
Now you may live.
Run, child.
Run. And yet, though, like, in the end, though, didn't she still stay a Jedi in a sense?
She's working with them.
Nema?
She's working with the Jedi, but she is not one. She never will be one. That's what I kind of got out of it. That she's, like, using her Force abilities, but she is not a Jedi. Which is, like, kind of what Ahsoka ends up doing.
She never went through the
like,
trials, too, so she's even less of a Jedi than Ahsoka, because she never...
Right. So she's more like the Agricor.
Yes, that's actually kind of what I was thinking. Agricor, for if you don't know, in Legends, Agricor is all the failed Padawans basically get put into the agricultural...
like the Peace Corps.
Yeah, like they kind of get shipped off into... into
I hate it.
helpful.
They were farming, basically.
Yeah, helpful uses.
I hate
You
it.
can't lift anything with the Force, but here you can make a plant grow. We'll put
Hate
you
it.
over here.
You can
Hate it. Let them go live their lives. I hate it. Oh my god.
Right?
Yeah, like you didn't give them a choice from the jump, and then they leave you, and you're still like, okay, go over here. It's no.
You're a farmer now.
I'm not gonna do that.
Talk about making someone an asset. I mean, because that was one of the big things with the Moedians. Is like, the Republic considers us just a bunch of assets. We're just no better than the Trade Federation. And that's what's happening to the Jedi. Like, they have 100% become an asset of the Republic.
Yeah, 100%.
Until they're a liability.
And then we have an order.
To
We
fix
have-
the liability.
Yeah.
All right.
Master Skywalker, there's too many of them. Don't call me that!
What are we going to do? That poor child.
We're going to die.
Turns out he's
Yeah,
actually the Grand
pieces.
Inquisitor now.
Oh, jeez.
All right. Do you guys have anything else?
No, that's a lot. It's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
I really liked it.
Yeah.
Me too.
I'd say it's 7 out of 10.
All right. What would you give it, Mark?
Oh, I wanted to give it a really high one because it pulled on so many things, but once you point out the fact that we didn't get that answer, I feel like that
Sorry.
Indiana Jones burning question. I'm gonna have to go with 6.5 on it. It's good, solid, but there's things to think about, and I think that overall is my number one thing. I think you're gonna get a lot out of this one with more rereads, because there were so many little things that kind of came out that. You could just blaze through it so fast and not pick up on a few of them and go back a little slower. Because I was switching from audiobook to this, I would have to go back a few chapters, and there were things that I missed when I was listening to it, and vice versa when I was falling asleep reading it. So
That's it.
I'm going to go solid 6.5.
All right. And give my what's it called? My disclosure. My average score is a 7. I come into a book giving a book a 7, then I read the book and it goes up or down from there. And I felt that it was better than average, so I gave it a 7.5. I really enjoyed it. That thing on the end didn't count. The thing at Cato Nomodia didn't count.
Yeah, none of that happened.
Yeah. No, but I really enjoyed the book. I came away really liking it. That did bother me. It wasn't like, oh my God, this is fantastic, but it was enjoyable. And that's really,
It's quite good.
That's really just what I wanted. I like just enjoyable books. And so, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And with that, it's time to wrap up. So, Mark, if you want people to find you, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me out there online at Illogical Rogue 2. Pretty much every platform out there. Star Wars Beyond the Films, do that with Jim, of course. And I also do Marvel Cast with David Senden. On occasion, we talk some Marvel stuff. It's Earth's mightiest podcast, after all. And, I'm a founder of the Star Wars Report, so go to www.starwarsreport.com and check out all the articles and all the other podcast shows on the Second Airborne Network. But yeah, guys, thanks a lot. I appreciate being brought on the show. Had a blast. And may the Force be with you.
All right. With that, we'll call it wraps. You can reach us through email, talkintauntauns at aiptcomics.com. You can find us on Twitter at Talkin Tauntauns. You can join our Patreon and talk to us on Discord through the aiptcomics.com Patreon thing to do that stuff.
Yep.
Going good. Okay. And with that, we will be back next week where we have a special surprise. We're going to be doing
Do we?
the Ewoks movie.
Right, we are doing that. I was hoping you forgot about that.
No, not me.
Never. Are we doing both of them or
No,
one of them?
just the first one. We'll do the second one later. Don't worry. I'm dragging this
All right.
out.
Are you doing Caravan of Courage? Or?
I don't even remember which one the first one is.
You tell
I
me.
think Caravan of Courage is the second one.
I think it might be. Oh, now I'm going to have to...
Yeah.
I'm so mad. I'm not. I'm just...
Battle for Endor? Yes, I think that's the first one. Or Caravan of Courage. One of the two.
Well, you pick one.
Battle of Endor sounds like a cataclysmic ending.
Yeah, I think Caravan of Courage, I think, is the first one. Battle for Endor, I think, is the second one. But we'll figure it out.
Great.
And that is the one we're doing. We're doing whatever the first one is next week. So we'll see you next week.
Place your bets.